The human mind is an incredible thing. We are capable of some truly special things, like creating beautiful works of art or coming up with ways to solve complex problems. Sometimes, though, our minds can also deceive us, which can lead to some pretty big mistakes. Throughout history, there have been many examples of people misinterpreting things, whether it was because they didn't have all the facts or because they were trying to fit a round peg in a square hole. Today, let's take a look at 5 times people got it wrong. Christopher Columbus was an Italian explorer who was the first European to reach the Americas. He did this by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean instead of going around Africa, which was the normal route. Everyone thought the world was much bigger than it actually is, so he knew he wouldn't get there by going west. However, he never realized his mistake, sticking to his belief that he had reached India. This led to a whole new world being discovered and a lot of deaths along the way. Ancient Greece was a time when philosophy and democracy were just starting to develop. At this time, the Spartans were a powerful military force in the region. They were known for their strong army and their strict lifestyle. This made them seem like a tough nut to crack to outside observers. As a result, historians and philosophers often tried to figure out how Spartan society worked. Xenophon was one of these people. He was an Athenian historian and soldier who lived in the 4th century BC. During this time, he wrote a book called The Laconic History. In it, he shares stories about Sparta and the Spartans. In particular, he talks about how they were strict and disciplined and always ready for war. Even though he lived in a different place and time, he was interested in how Spartans lived and fought. But he only saw what he wanted to see, leaving us with a distorted view of Spartan life. He left out a lot of important details, and sometimes made up stories to make his work more interesting. This gave readers the idea that Spartans lived very harsh lives, full of pain and violence. He painted Spartans as rude and uncaring, which isn't true because evidence from archaeology and other writings tells us a different story. Spartans weren't as cruel as Xenophon made them out to be. Instead, Xenophon gave the world a biased view of Sparta, one that wasn't based on facts. Edward Burnett Tyler was an English anthropologist who was interested in the development of religion. He lived from 1832 to 1917 and was one of the founders of social anthropology. In 1871, he published a book called Primitive Culture. In this book, he shared his ideas about how religion started. According to him, religion started with animism. This means that early people believed that everything had a soul, like trees, rivers, and animals. Then, over time, people began to worship more than one god. Eventually, they created complicated religions with lots of rules and ceremonies. He thought this was a natural progression and that all religions went through these same stages. Unfortunately, this theory is not correct. There's no proof that all religions develop in the same way. Many religions, especially those in Africa and Oceania, show that religions can start and stay simple. They don't always need to become more complex with many gods and rituals. Taylor's theory shows how early anthropologists tried to understand different cultures. He wanted to find general rules that explained how all cultures evolve. But now we know that each culture has its own unique path. The Voynich Manuscript is a mysterious book that has been puzzling experts for years. What makes it so strange is that it seems to be written in a secret code. The book's pages are filled with pictures of plants, astronomical charts, and strange diagrams. But the script used throughout the book has never been decoded. It looks like a real language, but no one can read it. People have come up with all kinds of ideas about who wrote the book and what it means. Some think it might be a magical book containing secret knowledge, while others think it's just a hoax. Despite many attempts, no one has been successful in deciphering the text. Advanced technology and expert analysis have not helped much either. There are lots of interesting ideas about the book, but no one knows for sure what it says or what it means. In the early days of astronomy, people didn't have fancy telescopes or computers to help them understand the universe. So they came up with clever ways to track the stars and planets. One of these methods was using star catalogs. Star catalogs are basically lists of stars and their positions. They helped astronomers keep track of where the stars are in the sky and study how they move. The earliest star catalog we know of was made by the Babylonian king Enheduanna, who lived around 2300 BCE. Her catalog included about 50 stars and was probably used to track the seasons and plan farming work. Later, Greek astronomers like Ptolemy built on these early catalogs. Ptolemy's Almagest, published in the 2nd century CE, is an amazing collection of astronomical knowledge. It listed about 1,000 stars and was used for centuries to teach astronomy. These catalogs were incredibly useful for learning about the sky. But they had a big problem. They didn't take into account the fact that the Earth is a sphere. Because of this, they weren't perfectly accurate, especially when it came to stars that were far away. They also didn't have any information about stars' brightness or color. This meant that astronomers couldn't really understand the universe beyond our solar system. The lack of detail in these catalogs limited what astronomers could learn. They couldn't tell how far away stars were or understand the distances between them. But despite these limitations, star catalogs were a huge step forward for astronomy. They gave people a way to understand the night sky and study the universe, and they helped set the stage for future discoveries. Today, we have detailed maps of the universe and amazing telescopes. But we still use star catalogs. Modern astronomers update and refine them, adding more stars and gathering information about each one. This helps us learn more about the universe and discover new things. Archaeologists recently uncovered a small town near the Israeli city of Beit Shean. The town is thought to be about 3,000 years old, from the time of the biblical patriarch Jacob. That's pretty amazing considering Israel is usually hot and dry. But after digging deeper, archaeologists found something even more shocking. Underneath the town was another layer from thousands of years before. This lower level goes back about 6,000 years to a time when the area was covered in water. The discovery of the underwater town has raised a lot of questions. How did a town get buried under the sea? How long was it underwater? And what happened to the people who lived there? The answer to these questions could change our understanding of the history of the region. So which one of these ancient riddles fascinated you most? Share your thoughts below. And if you enjoy decoding lost history, don't forget to subscribe for more echoes of the past.